So how did Jesus find dudes named Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and Paul 2,000 years ago in the region of Syria, Palestine? Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion. And there are two different things you need to be aware of when thinking about this. The first is that if you're wondering why these names are being found in a region that you think of as predominantly Arabic or Hebrew speaking today, that's a bit of an anachronism, meaning 2,000 years ago, that region was much different than it is today. And so you're comparing your impression of what names you would expect to hear in this region today to the names you would expect to hear in that region 2,000 years ago. So there's a bit of a disconnect there. But the main issue is that these names have all been transliterated from Hebrew or Latin into Greek and then into Latin and then into English, or directly from Latin into English. And so that's not how these names would have sounded 2,000 years ago in those regions. So the name Matthew, for instance, comes to us through the Latin from the Greek Mattathias, which is a transliteration of the Hebrew name Matityahu, which means gift of Adonai. Mark is a Latin name, so is Luke, and they were pronounced Marcus and Lucas anciently. So you can still hear a much closer sounding pronunciation in Spanish-speaking populations today for those names. And then the name John comes to us again through the Latin from the Greek, where it was Ioannis, and that is also a transliteration of a Hebrew name, Yochanan, which means Adonai is gracious. And then Paul, who also had the name Saul or Shaul, comes from the Greek Paulos. So there are older pronunciations of these names, but because not all languages have the same letters and the same consonants and the same ways of pronouncing things, you have to transliterate names so they are easier for other people to pronounce. And so Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and Paul were originally Matityahu, Marcus, Lucas, Yochanan, and Shaul. And so even though that part of the world is quite different from how it was 2,000 years ago, those names should sound a little more comfortable for that region. And the fit for this video has been the original Hulk.